How would the Ducks do in the Big Ten? Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Leave your perspective below. Now here's our take. Of course, Oregon's had a fine football program over the past 20 years or so. Mike Bellotti with a strong showing leading the Ducks throughout the 2000s, and then the program reached its peak under Chip Kelly, reaching 2 national championship games, the second one with Kelly's teams under Mark Helfrich in 2014. Mario Cristobal with a decent run. He won a Rose Bowl after the 2019 season. It's been a top 10 to 15 program most of that time and reached its elite status under Chip Kelly, of course. Let's check out how the Ducks have done against the Big Ten since 2000. Most recently, of course, as a 2-touchdown underdog, the Ducks went to Columbus and upset Ohio State. That Buckeyes team went on to win the Rose Bowl, and the Ducks won that one 35-28. The Rose Bowl win against Wisconsin at the end of 2019, we referenced a close game that went down to the wire. Justin Herbert and company won at 28-27. Michigan State in another bowl appearance and another 1-point win for the Ducks in an ugly game over the Spartans 7-6 in the Red Box Bowl in 2018. In 2017, Oregon faced what was the beginning of the down time for Nebraska, a 4-8 Huskers team, and the Ducks won it 42-35. The year before, they went to Lincoln, lost 35-32 when they tried a 2-point conversion after every touchdown, if you recall that one. That Huskers team finished at 9-4. In 2015, there was the culmination of a home-and-home series against Michigan State. 2 really entertaining ball games. A 9-4 Oregon team in 2015 lost to a playoff-bound Michigan State team 31-28 in East Lansing. The season before, the Oregon team that went all the way to the national championship game defeated Michigan State 46-27, and that Connor Cook-led team that won the Cotton Bowl. That team, of course, for Oregon, moved on to the national championship game, bested by Ohio State 42-20. Go back to 2011 and a great Rose Bowl showdown against Russell Wilson and Wisconsin. That Badger team finished at 11-3, and the Ducks won at 45-38 as Wilson was firing into the end zone to try to tie the game at the conclusion, but the Ducks held for the Rose Bowl win. In 2009, Oregon faced the Big Ten twice. First against Purdue, a marginal at best Purdue team, 5-7. Ducks won at 38-36, and then later they met Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. They were roughly a 5-point favorite in that game, but Chip Kelly's team lost to the Buckeyes and Jim Tressel 26-17. 2008 was the first of a home-and-home series against Purdue. Ducks won that one 32-26 against a 4-8 Boiler team. Michigan, Oregon, really nice series here in 2003 and 2007, and the Ducks won both of them against quality Michigan teams that went 10-3 and 9-4. The Ducks blasted that second Michigan team 39-7. There in 2003, we see a bowl matchup against Minnesota. Great game in that one against Glenn Mason's team, a Gophers team that finished at 10-3, 31-30, Minnesota. Wisconsin was a home-and-home series in the years of 2000 and 2001, and there was a split against a Wisconsin team that went 9-4. Then the Ducks won the return trip against Wisconsin 31-28 in 2001. All told, Oregon went 11-6 against the Big Ten since 2000, 3-2 in bowl games. How good were the Oregon teams, though, against the Big Ten teams? Because there could be a disparity there. Were they fair matchups? All these Big Ten teams combined went 152-70. The Oregon teams went 165-60, so they were not a ton better, but decidedly better. 13 games better in the win column, 10 games better in the loss column. The point differential in these games, Oregon outscored the Big Ten in these 17 games by 47 points, so less than 3 points per game. And also keep in mind that Oregon went 5-0 against unranked Big Ten teams. We saw where they faced 2 Purdue teams that were under 500, a Wisconsin team that only won 5 games, a Nebraska team that only went 4-8, and a Michigan State team that finished at 7-6 after the bowl loss to the Ducks. Oregon, therefore, went 6-6 against ranked teams, and they faced some really, really strong competition, of course, as they took on an Ohio State team that was the best team in the nation in 2014 and the national championship game winner. a Michigan State team that went to the playoffs, and of course, an Ohio State team that bested Oregon in the Rose Bowl and finished top 5 in the nation. These Oregon teams, over the course of these 23 seasons, won 212 games, lost 80. So that is a top-notch effort out of Oregon. 140-57 in the Pac-12, so they've won nearly 3/4 of their games, about 72-73% of their games in the Pac-12. So what does this Oregon team look like going to the Big Ten if that would ever happen? Again, these Oregon teams were generally top 15 to 20 teams throughout the 2000s under Mike Bellotti, reached a peak under Chip Kelly, so they showed during that era and a little bit later under Mario Cristobal to a certain extent that they could play with the best in college football. So basically, Oregon equals, at their best, Penn State and maybe even better. Of course, they would have to face USC and UCLA as well. It would be mighty intriguing to see the Ducks have to head east to take on the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and others on a regular basis. Our thoughts about Oregon football and how they would place in the Big Ten. Again, a lesser version of Penn State overall for the most part. Of course, there would be peaks and valleys as there have been for the Ducks program over the last 20 years. Your thoughts down below. Leave your comments. Would love to get your perspective on Oregon versus the Big Ten. We will do the same in our series as we look at Washington against the Big Ten and other possibilities that are being talked about in regards to realignment in college football and new matchups that are forming. Check out the videos that we posted with Oklahoma and Texas. We know that's going to happen. Oklahoma and Texas against the SEC, USC and UCLA against the Big Ten. Those links are below down in the comments section right here at the Voice of College Football.